Kia of Kia Comments, and I'm back with another video. Today I want to discuss literary journals, writing conferences, and writing workshops that support emerging voices from the African diaspora and writers of color. The first literary journal that I want to get into is Callaloo. Callaloo is the brainchild of Dr. Charles Rowell, and it is based out of Texas A&M University, and it hosts a litany of talented writers. The first short story that I ever read by Danielle Evans was in Callaloo. I also just recently read a short story by Percival Everett, and I was recently published in the journal, so I am happy to discuss it and to encourage any writers who are emerging to submit their most polished work. The next literary journal I want to discuss is The Caribbean Writer. I always turn to this particular journal when I want to figure out who the next new Caribbean hotness is. Rich Donticat is on the board and has also published in this journal. The journal is based out of the University of the Virgin Islands and was recently edited by Opal Adisa Palmer. Definitely has a flavor that is distinctly Caribbean, not because it reflects anything tropical or it reflects magical realism and folklore that is usually attributed to the Caribbean, but because it reflects the wide and diverse nature of the voices that come out of the Caribbean. Across the pond, we have Wasafiri. This journal tends to focus on Black European writers and writers from Southeast Asia. I've read Lorna Goodison in this journal, Fred Diagula publishes in this journal. The poetry in this journal is outstanding, but what I love most is its non-fiction. There are issues that are touched on that I don't get exposed to because I live on the western side of the world and I tend to get caught up in American journals and Caribbean journals, and so whenever I do get my hands on Wasafiri, I'm always blown away. If you are the kind of writer who likes memoir, if you're the kind of writer who likes the articles that you see in World Literature Today or Vice, this is a literary journal for you to check out. Moving on to writing workshops, I want to discuss Vona. Vona is the baby of Juno Diaz, and that focuses on writers of color, emerging writers of color to be specific. Vona originally was based out of San Francisco, but has now moved to Miami and is affiliated with the University of Miami. The talent of the instructors at Vona is outstanding. Juno Diaz teaches there. Chris Abani has taught there. Tanavre Du has taught there. Tiari Jones has taught there. And because the instructors are outstanding, it can only be expected that the emerging writers that go to the workshop are also outstanding. I've never participated in Vona, but I definitely think that I'm going to apply next year. Fingers crossed that I get in. Callaloo, which I mentioned as a journal, also has a writing workshop that caters to fiction writers and poets from the African diaspora. I have met so many outstanding writers at this workshop. I've been twice, once in 2010 and once in 2014, and both times it has been an eye-opener. Both times I have made connections with writers who still read some of my short stories today, and writers who basically made me grow. Callaloo has 3 writing workshops, one that is affiliated with Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, a workshop that is in the UK and affiliated with Oxford University, and a workshop that is based in Barbados and is affiliated with the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill. Cave Khanum is a workshop that is unique in the fact that it only caters to poets, and it caters to poets from the diaspora. Cave Khanum has churned out some of the most lauded and critically acclaimed African American and Caribbean poets that I have read. Tracy K. Smith went to Cave Khanum. Terrence Hayes went to Cave Khanum. Major Jackson went to Cave Khanum. And the list goes on. Their poets are outstanding. And I think Cave Khanum is really necessary because of the fact that they focused on poets. Poets don't tend to get a lot of play on BookTube, and frankly, I think that is because it is reflective of the fact that poets don't tend to get a lot of play, full stop, from the literary community, which is odd since poets are kind of the shaman of writers. They distill the written word down to its purest form. Every single word in good poetry must count. It must count. And the fact that poets aren't read as widely is something that saddens me, and I am guilty of that, so no shade to anybody out there. Because of this though, I am so happy that Cave Canem exists. And for those of you who are interested in some of the writers that have passed through the doors of Cave Canem, please check out the link to Cave Canem that I leave in the description box below. As a matter of fact, I will be leaving links to every single literary journal and writing workshop that I mention here. Kimbilio is a fairly recent writing workshop that caters to fiction writers of the African diaspora. I have been a participant in the Kimbilio workshops, and I don't know that I really understood craft until I took some of the workshops at Kimbilio. The other thing that I want to say about Kimbilio is the talent that I was exposed to there kind of took my breath away and my nerve. All of the recent fiction that I have read by writers from the diaspora seems to be coming from writers who have passed through the doors of Kimbilio. As a matter of fact, I actually think that I'm going to do a segment on works that have recently been published by writers from the African diaspora or about to be published by writers from the African diaspora, and you will be shocked to find out how many of them were participants in Kimbilio or affiliated with Kimbilio in some way, shape, or form. I want to discuss Bocas Lit Fest particularly. Bocas Lit Fest is a conference that is based out of Trinidad. It happens annually. It's fairly new. There is a literary prize attached to it, but the thing that I find most important about Bocas Lit Fest is the conversations that happen at this conference. I have not been to Bocas Lit Fest, but I have watched videos and listened to podcasts from the festival, and what is attractive to me is the fact that the people who organize Bocas Lit Fest and the writers who participate in Bocas Lit Fest are all together in their idea that there needs to be a literary press that caters to writers from the Caribbean in the Caribbean. I'm so happy that Bocas Lit Fest has these annual conferences and has cultivated and nourished and deepened the conversation about what the Caribbean can do to support its written artists. Stemming from that, I want to talk about two literary presses that do support Caribbean writers, and that is Akashic Books and Peepal Press. Akashic Books doesn't only support Caribbean writers, but it has recently really ponied up on trying to help establish a literary press in the Caribbean. Akashic Book also publishes a lot of African writers, a lot of African American writers, frankly a lot of writers from the diaspora, and a lot of writers from regions that aren't heard of. Peepal Press is based in the UK, and it is unabashed in its promotion and support of Caribbean, African, and Southeast Asian writers. Some of my favorite Caribbean poets first published there, and my most recent short story Caribbean crush, Sharon Miller, I see you girl, I bought your book, I bought it and I loved it, has been published by Peepal Press. Thank you Peepal Press for existing and continuing to promote the voices of writers that I love to read, and to promote the voices of writers that contribute to the world narrative and that increase the diversity of voices being read today. So that is it. That is all. I hope that this segment was informative. I know it was a little different, but it's something that I've been thinking about for a while, and what better time to do it than this month. Keep reading, keep writing, keep reviewing, rate, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.